This is Marcus Quiroga with MMAnytt, and we are back with another podcast. We got Bernardo, and we got Blake Troop, and Tim Quiroga as well. They're getting ready for the RFA fights here in, not on Los Angeles, but Orange County, California, in about 2 weeks. How you guys feeling?
Feeling great. Ready.
Feel good. My weight's good. Training camp's going good. So.
And you guys are you're out of Blackhouse?
Blackhouse, that's right.
And
I'm out of the compound in Oceanside.
And you both are local guys, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
And you used to train with Team Quest, right?
I used to train with
Team Quest. Yeah. And you switched to Blackhouse. How long ago?
4 months ago. I've been out here 4 months ago already. Yeah.
And did you go with Daniel Varon, or because I know he left as well and went to Blackhouse, right?
No, I went into Blackhouse with Coach Daniel Warren.
Yeah.
He's the one that I came in with.
Great kickboxing coach who's been with Dan Henderson for a long time and got Tarek's effort in as well. Tarek's injured. Tarek's not doing well. Have you been training with Tarek for a long time too?
Yeah, I've trained with Tarek several times, and he's helped me get ready for fights, and I've helped him get ready for fights. So, and he's a great person, and I wish him the best.
And this is his second injury in a very short period of time. He had that knee injury, and then he fought, and then he got injured again. Do you know any updates on his injury?
Not any updates, but I did hear that he got hurt, and I just wished him the best, and hopefully he recovers soon, and hope to see him back in the gym soon.
And comparing these, Team Quest has been, one of the top leading MMA teams for a very long time, and Blackhouse as well. Being able to go from one gym to another, what would you say is the biggest difference between those two gyms and other gyms as well that you might have been to?
Well, Team Quest, I got a lot of experience from there as an amateur, but their focus is on Dan Henderson. They don't want to help the other guys out. You have to have your own connections there. And with Blackhouse is that they help us. They focus on the fighters, and that's what I liked, and that's what I needed for my career.
Right.
So you felt like it was more personal training at Blackhouse, like they kind of concentrate on everybody progressing rather than just the stars at Blackhouse.
That's right.
And both of you fought for RFA before you made your pro debut for RFA, which is pretty big. To
Definitely a good place to make your pro debut.
Yeah. How was your amateur career? What was your record as an amateur?
My amateur career was, my amateur record was 10-1.
Oh wow!
I had 10 KOs, and my only loss was against the national champion. We ended up going 3 rounds.
Wrestler, right?
Yeah, he was a wrestler.
Wow.
So you are more of a stand-up fighter. That's not a secret.
No, yeah, I like to stand up, perfect my takedown defense, and keep it standing.
And that's the plan for this fight as well?
And mix it up. I want to confuse them and make them really think of what I'm going to be doing.
What do you know about your opponent so far?
He likes to stand up. I don't really see him trying to take me down, but I'm getting ready for everything. Whatever he wants to do, I'm ready for it.
Nice. And what about you, Blake? You also fought for RFA. I actually watched you live, and Daria, you were there too.
Yes, sir.
That one didn't go your way. What have you done differently this time around?
Well, that one I took on really short notice. I didn't really have a great performance. Definitely the biggest show that I had fought in. It was a tough loss. I knew Khalil was a tough opponent stepping in, taking that fight. But I'm willing to step up and take tough challenges. Since then, I've been continuing to do the same stuff, training really hard, working a lot on everything, all aspects of my game. And so I plan on coming in and finishing Hackleman.
And Hackleman got knocked out himself, but he also has a lot of knockouts on his record, and he's got that same hook as his father taught another guy named Chuck Liddell, right? Is that something that you're looking out for, especially, or?
I'm training specifically for him. I've known about this fight for about 6 or 7 weeks, so I've been training specifically for him. But I've been working all around on my stand-up, whether it's boxing or Muay Thai. I'm not extremely concerned about what he's going to do. I'm more worried about what I'm going to go in there and do.
Are you one of those guys that really studies your opponent and likes to know what you're expecting? Likes to know how he breathes, how he thinks? Or are you kind of the guy that, okay, I know he's a wrestler, I'll go in there and do my game and not worry about his so much?
I would say it's more generalized, like the latter one she said there.
Right.
I know he's a stand-up guy, and I know that he's going to want to stand. I know he likes that left hook. He's really left side dominant. You know, so I know I'm aware of some of his habits, but I'm not I don't sit there and pick apart everything about him. There's not a ton of footage on him as well that's as recent as I'd like to see. There's a lot of amateur stuff out, a couple pro fights, but you know, as time progresses, you watch something 2 years old, and you might be looking at habits that aren't
there anymore.
Right.
Now, you said you took your last fight against Round Table on short notice, and he's a very experienced fighter. Are you one of those fighters that think, hey, let's just get in and get as much experience as possible? Or some people are very concerned about managing their careers and making sure they don't get any losses on the record and kind of, you know, watching out for the tougher fights.
Taking the smart fights.
Right. Well, I mean, I'd say it's a combination of the two. I knew that the risk and the benefit there. I mean, I had a ton to benefit by taking that fight and winning, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, I'm taking a loss too. But I'm losing to Khalil Roundtree, you know, Anderson Silva's protege, you know. So, I mean, it's a combination of the two. I won't take just easy fights and stuff. I don't believe in the people that pad records. I won't fight a guy with a negative record. You know, I think that it makes your record look illegitimate, you know. If a guy has a losing record and you're fighting those guys, like, I mean, some of these guys, like, that's why Cerrone was talking about Miles Jury's record. Like, I'm not impressed by your 15-0 because 5 of those guys are proven losers, 0-4. I don't think that's fighting. That's padding your record to kind of, or like Deshaun Johnson, who went through Explode and his combined record was some ridiculous, like 8 and like 60 of all his opponents, you know, and it's just. You kind of look at that and you're like, all right, and then he goes to the UFC and gets crushed. You know, I think that taking tough fights is part of it. My second pro fight when I was 1-0, I fought a guy who was 6-2 in his backyard in Hawaii at the Aloha Stadium. So like, I believe in taking tough fights, you know, and I want to get better, you know, but I don't feel like fighting bums is going to get me better. So I'd say it's a combination of the two, you know, like.
Now, going in, like you said, you have some guys that pad the records and then they're 10-0 or 15-0, whatever the case might be, and they get the UFC contract. Yes, they get crushed, but they still get the UFC contract. What's more important? I guess, obviously, if you get to the UFC, you want to stay in the UFC, because that's another thing, right? 2-3 losses and you're out again.
You're out, right?
And like you said, you haven't really proven anything. You haven't gotten that much experience. But what is more important? Getting to the UFC, it's a fine line, I guess, between getting experience and still continuing a winning record. What is that fine line?
I mean, that's definitely a tough one. That's why I said a combination of the two, you know, where, you know, taking smart fights is obviously the better option. But now I have my second fight in the RFA against John Hackleman Jr., which I think is a great matchup for me that I think I'm going to do really well in. So, you know, I mean, I took a tough fight, which I had a lot to gain by winning, you know, and if a loss, you walk away and it's like, well, I lost to Anderson Silva's protege who had a full training camp to get ready. And I took it on 10-day notice, you know, so it's like, I don't know. I feel like it was a good loss to take. Would I just be stepping up and fighting tough guys every single time? I mean, I wouldn't be looking to fight really tough guys every single time early on in my career. But I'm up to fight tough guys, you know. And if there's less tough guys between some of the tougher matchups, I'm fine with that, you know.
Well, I think another thing that Dana White loves to see and that the UFC has commended over the years is somebody that's a gamer. Someone that's down to take a fight on short notice. A Donald Cerrone, for example. Now Benson Henderson taking this fight on short notice. He likes those guys who he knows can always fill the spots.
Right. Mark Hunt got a title shot off it.
Exactly.
By being willing to take a short notice fight. You know, so sometimes I think that there's the benefit versus the negative aspect of it. It's worth it. You know, maybe not in every situation, but
right. And you gain a lot of respect, I think, from a lot of people taking those fights because you know it is a big opponent. It is someone that's highly known. So like, oh, who's the guy that's fighting that guy? And then they look into you a little bit more, and you put on good performance, and there you go.
Right.
And when it comes to fighting, you switched weight, right? Now you're fighting 85.
Well, I fought 85 my first fight, 170 for my second, and then 85 since. The Khalil Roundtree that we did a catchweight 190 because I took it on short notice, and it was the week after Thanksgiving. So my manager was like, you guys down to do 190 catchweight? Just to kind of make it easier. I could have made 85. I feel like, because now I've had a full training camp, I feel like I could make 70 again. So my next fight will probably be at 70, which is nice because I'm just a huge guy at 70. You know, 6'4", 210.
So we walk around at about 210?
210, 215. And so 85 is a pretty, not super easy cut for me, but I mean, if I had another month of putting in work, it wouldn't be hard for me to make 70. And if I made it to the UFC, that's what I'd plan on fighting at.
Wow. Do you actually cut a lot, or do you diet down to
both?
there?
Combination of the two.
Both.
I mean, I try and minimize the amount of water weight that I have to cut during and do that over kind of a couple days, so I'm not draining myself the day before.
Right.
So like when I made 70, it took me 2 months to get down from 210 to make 70.
Okay.
So it's a lot of dieting, cardio, and then on top of all the regular training I'm doing.
And then Tim, you said I pointed out that you're a big 55 as well. You're saying it's a sweatshirt, but I've been around fashion for long enough, knowing that black actually makes you look smaller. You're not a small 55. What do you walk around at usually?
170, 175 the most.
Really? So you
That's
stay
not
pretty
even
close.
that big, yeah.
No.
And I'm 5'11".
You got a good build for a 55er then.
Yeah.
It seems average. He does look big though.
Because when I first started, I thought I was gonna be a welterweight, and my coach was like, "What's your weight right now?" He's like, "I'm like 175." He's like, "Hell no, man, you gotta be a lightweight." And I was like, "I can't make 155. I've never been 155." So I tried it, and I felt good at it. So
It's been okay so far?
yeah.
And that's one thing, like, you know, if people that grow up, whether it's boxing, amateur boxing, through getting through the ranks, or wrestling as well, learning how to cut weight from a young age, and it is easy once you've done it. Did you have to cut weight? What did you grow up doing? What sports did you play?
Well, I started jiu-jitsu freshman year of high school in 2001, so I've been training jiu-jitsu for a long time. And then I used to work for On The Mat Fight Shop, so I competed in all the tournaments with World Grappling Games. So I cut down to 55 when I was walking at about 80, which was tough. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
Wow.
But that was a long time ago, though. That was 7 or 8 years ago.
Did you cut off for your amateur fights?
No, I fought amateur at 155, and I just stayed there.
At 55?
Yeah.
Oh, you fought amateur at 55.
Yeah.
So you would cut the same amount of weight for amateur.
But back in the amateurs, I wasn't doing it right, so I was cutting like 15 pounds a week, and it was bad. Now I cut down 5.
Now you have Kenny Johnson helping
I diet
you,
like a month before the fight, but it goes good. I don't suffer during cutting. And
Do you think you can make 45 then? If you did amateur as 55?
they've asked me before, but I'm like, I wouldn't take a fight at 45. I would try it on my own first.
I think that's a safer bet to do, right?
Right.
To do,
But for the most part, I tell them no.
Yeah. Why not fight at 55? You're doing good there so far.
Yeah.
And tell anyone, you said you were cutting weight and you had problems, or you said you were probably pretty weak if you were cutting 15 pounds the week of the fight, right, as an amateur. But you still had 10 knockouts out of 10 wins.
Yeah. I think people just overthink it too much, like where they're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to perform good. I cut a lot of weight. I ran a lot. But I wasn't really thinking. I'm like, all right, I just made weight. I'm good. I put some food back in me. I was good, and I don't know. I would just win my fights.
How do you usually knock your opponents out?
I finished like 4 of my opponents due to leg kicks.
Leg kicks?
Leg kicks.
You stopped them with leg kicks?
Yeah, I would set it up and chop them down with the legs.
With shin guards?
No, but when I started amateur, you didn't have to wear the shin guards.
Oh, right. That's the last year, I think they added that in, right?
Yeah.
So you stopped 4 opponents with leg kicks?
Leg kicks, a lot of boxing too, and I didn't really take them down. I didn't really take them down.
Have you worked on your wrestling a lot since?
Oh yeah, with Kenny Johnson, he's getting me better, and he's been helping me a lot. So I thank him for that.
Now, because you train with Dan Henderson, we're going to talk about the UFC card in Sweden, which is about to start, which is actually going on right now, the undercard, the prelims, but the main event starts at 5 p.m., which I was a little bit surprised. I usually go back to Sweden for UFC Sweden, and 5 p.m. here is 2 a.m. in Sweden. Can you imagine having to start? And that's the start of the main event, right? Main card. The main event won't be until 4 fights into it, right? So can you imagine having to fight at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning?
You have to switch your sleeping schedule or something a couple weeks before.
Yeah, when I fought in Hawaii, there's a 3-hour time difference back, and I was in a fight before the main event, and I think I fought around 10 o'clock Hawaii time. So it was like 1 a.m. It sucked. it throws you off a little.
Right.
How long did you have to prepare for that? How long were you in Hawaii?
I was in Hawaii for a week. They flew me out about 5 days before, so a little time to get acclimated to the weather out there. And
how do you think the Americans are going to do over in Sweden? First of all, it's cold. It's a cold country, and now it's a 9-hour time difference. Mm-hmm. For them, they usually fly them out about a week before. But do you think that could potentially affect the fighter? The jet lag, the time difference?
I think so.
I mean, if they flew out a week before, one of the biggest things I've noticed with fighting is you bloat. You put on a good amount of water weight, which at first scared me because when I came back, I was out in Florida for Christmas, and I came back and I was like 218. I was like, holy shit, how am I going to get down to 85? I got to cut 30-plus pounds. And I lost about 7 or 8 of it pretty quick just coming back. So getting out and getting past the weight cut, the time difference a little bit, but if they're out there training and they just stay on California schedule and don't really worry about what the sun and whether it's light or dark
There's no
out.
sun over there.
So, because that'd be the biggest thing to throw me off, as if I started my day when they started their day and ended my day when they ended their day, because then the time change would mess me up. But if I was able to get into gyms and be training, it would be maybe mid-afternoon and then really late night, more time around times I'd be fighting, I don't think it would have a big effect on me personally.
And back to Dan Henderson, because you trained with him for a long time. He said he was going to retire.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't. And he's back at 85.
Well, I think he's just a fighter. I think he's one of those persons that he just doesn't give up, and he believes in himself, and he's one of those guys that's just mentally tough, and he believes he can fight, and he does it.
And he's got a tough opponent now, Gegard Mousasi, who recently went out and said that his fight with Jacare, he just didn't feel it. He said it. He had a bunch of injuries. He'd taken back-to-back fights.
Mm-hmm.
As he stepped into the cage, he just wasn't hungry for it. The fighting spirit wasn't there. And that's a pretty honest thing for a fighter to say when they go into the cage. How do you think he will do against Mousasi?
Well, Mousasi has to be in the right attitude if he wants to beat Dan Henderson, because Dan Henderson's always shows up to fight. So he needs to have his mind right and be ready to fight.
And someone like Dan has been in the game for so long and been on top of the game for so long and always dangerous. What is it that Dan has that a lot of other fighters might not have?
The experience. I think the experience could be the main thing to this fight, the experience. Because I've trained with Dan Henderson, and that guy has like 100 moves that he could show you from the wall, from just a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of knowledge.
And that H-bomb, have you ever been caught by it?
Yeah, I've been caught. It was we do stand-up sparring on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I was tagging him, and I stepped back, and I stepped back in, and I think he was timing that. So I stepped back in, and that's when he hit me. He gave me a little shiner right here. But
were you still on your feet afterwards?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah. So I tell people that I've been hit by him. So.
And you can take it. That's good.
That
if
day
you
I
can take Dan Henderson's H-bomb, then you can take a punch.
Yeah.
And Kirill Roundtree that Blake just fought. Did you spar with him as well?
Yeah, I sparred with him the first time I went for sparring at Blackhouse.
Yeah.
And we actually ended up going really hard.
I heard he goes hard in sparring.
Yeah, we go hard, and I think he knocked me down once, and then I got back up, and we just started going at it again, and we shook hands after it. But it was a fun round.
Yeah.
It definitely made me feel alive.
Yeah, and being, as you said, Anderson Silva's protege, and do you see him having a bright future as well in the UFC? Does he have what it takes?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like he has the power, the speed, and he wants to learn. Of what I've seen him training and how he trains, he wants to learn, and I wish him nothing but the best. Cool.
We got 2 Americans in that card as well, 2 wrestlers, Phil Davis, Ryan Bader.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Daria?
I'm a fan of Phil Davis. I think he's super athletic. I doubted him once, and I regretted it. So I think it was last time we were on the show. So I'm going to go with Phil Davis.
Yeah?
Who else do we have?
I agree. I think Phil Davis by decision.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it'll win by decision? Who was it that he fought last? Phil Davis fought... I actually doubted him as well. I didn't think he was going to be able to... Glover Teixeira.
Glover Teixeira, that's it.
I thought he was too strong. I thought his boxing was too good. I thought he was too tough.
Me too.
And I was completely wrong.
He really impressed me this last fight.
We got Cecilia against Akira Kurosani from Gothenburg, where I'm from back home, who's been living and training in New York for a long time now, and has become a true professional. He's fighting Sam Cecilia, who's now a beginner himself. Any thoughts on that one?
not familiar with either of them enough to make a prediction I'd stand behind.
No? Do you follow UFC? You're a fan of UFC?
Yeah, I like watching it.
This is actually it's one weight class below you, 45 now.
Well, I want the Sweden guys to win. Like they're back home, and I know they're full of motivation with their fans there, and of course their family. So it feels good when your family's there and your country's there watching you.
There's a new arena that sits about 30,000 people. The Stockholm Globe that we had the UFC in last couple of times when they were over there, sold out in less than 3 hours when Alex fought last time. Wow. This arena, Dana White said afterwards, except from the Brazilian fans, this was the most educated and loud fan base he's ever heard. Do you think, does it make a difference? You're both hometown boys when it comes to RFA. Does it make a difference to have your family, friends being there for you when you walk out?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having people cheer for you and stuff, they say your name, a bunch of people start cheering and stuff. I think it does. But then again, it's motivating too, because when I was in Hawaii, I had nobody there for me. And they're just like, boo, Holly, get out of here. He's going to kick your ass. I'm like, it's nice having people cheer for you instead of not having nice things to say. But
did it make you want to prove yourself, though, when they were booing you? Like, oh, I'll show you.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm about to whoop your boy's ass.
And when it comes to the fight in itself, during the fight, do you hear fans? Are you one of those? Some people say they don't hear anything. Some people do.
Not so much. I can hear my coach's voice. Besides that, not really.
Yeah, I don't really hear the crowd. I do hear the crowd, but not as much as when I'm in the locker room.
That's right. When you hear, huh? Yeah, that's bad as well, because you don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah.
And then the main event, Alexander Gustafsson versus Rumble Johnson, who's made a very exciting comeback back into the UFC. Who'd you have? Remember, this is for a Swedish channel. No, I'm joking. It doesn't matter.
I think Gustafsson's gonna take him out. I think Anthony Rumble Johnson's really dangerous in the first couple minutes, but I think if Gustafsson works his jab a lot, he's really gonna slow him down and be snapping his head back. I think Gustafsson's taking it.
I want Gustafsson to win just because I like how he uses his reach. And as a tall fighter, I'm a tall 155er, and I like using my reach. That's how I've won most of my fights, with my reach. So I want Gustafsson to dominate that reach.
Definitely Gustafsson, hands down. I want to see that rematch that everybody else wants to see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Obviously, Alex. I think so too. It's Johnson's wrestling might impose a little bit of danger, but because of Alex's footwork, is very, very fast. Like I said, he uses his reach so well. What Johnson does very well, though, is strike as well. He can punch and he can punch hard.
Yeah.
So that's always dangerous. But Alex proven it before. He's taken the hardest of shots and he's never been knocked out. He's been rocked once, really, and that was by Jones' spinning elbow in the fourth or the fifth, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he took that.
Yeah.
Yes, it was on rocky legs for a minute, but he was fine with it. So I agree. I was very surprised to see how easily Jones was able to get through Cormier. I thought that was going to be a tougher fight, but it shows how important the height is and Jones especially, how good is he at using his reach. You said you're a tall 55er. You're obviously a tall 85er, especially tall for a 170. Does that make a difference? Do you feel like you have an advantage when you have a reach on your opponent?
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think it's easier because you're controlling what the range is, and then even an intimidation factor. If you're bigger than your opponent, I think that plays into it as well.
It's definitely part of the mental game.
And you're fighting Christian Aguilera.
Yeah.
What do you know about Christian?
Well, the time that what I do know about him, that he trains out of Studio MMA with I don't know who, but I feel like he's been fighting guys that aren't good. I think he's
You think he's one of those people that's been padding their record, as we say?
Yeah, I looked into him, and two of his opponents have losing records. Another guy he had an even record, but I think he's gonna run into a wall when he fights me.
He has 2 KOs, TKOs, and 1 decision. You said you're 5'11"?
5'11".
He's 5'9", so you feel that reach is going to be an advantage to you as well?
Yeah.
He trains out of Total MMA Studios, and he's local as well. Not as local. He's from Brea, which is a little bit further. So to you, when it comes to someone that comes in with he's never lost. It's 3-0. Do you look at that at all?
No.
Both of you actually.
No, I like fighting undefeated fighters because then I feel even better when I beat them. Yeah. That's how I feel.
I mean, it depends who they fought. You know, if you got a guy who's 6-0 and all his guys he fought are bums, not so much. You know, so I think though it would be if somebody's lost once, it's easier to make them give up or to take them out. But I don't know if I don't really feel like it would affect me if it's undefeated or whoever. You know, I'm game to fight.
And we're gonna go back real quick as well, talking about even though he has 2 losses on his record, it's been a long time. Conor McGregor, just after last week's performance, he's proven it's not just all talks, but is it the hype greater than the skill, or is he the man? Can he beat Jose Aldo?
I like the guy. I like looking at him. He's a great fighter, and he's one of the guys I try to mimic during training.
Yeah. You think he can take out Jose Aldo?
Yeah. He's
really?
He's really strong up here. That's why.
What if Jose gets him to the ground?
I don't know then. But
that won't happen.
Just the things that I've seen from Conor McGregor. He has good takedown defense too, but just we'll see how Jose Aldo's takedown match against his takedown defense.
Right.
But on the feet, I think Conor takes him.
See, I got my money on Aldo. I think it's going to be a really exciting fight. I don't think it's even going to hit the ground. I think they're going to be beating on each other a lot. Aldo's a big 55er, and McGregor's a pretty big 55er, so he's not going to have a big height or reach or size difference over him. And they're both game standing up. I think it's going to be a really entertaining fight. I think Aldo, though.
Yeah, even though they're actually all big 455ers, but they're fighting at 45 though.
Oh,
yeah, but they actually Conor McGregor has 455 as well.
Yeah,
he was a champ both at 45 and 55 for Cage Warriors. But you're right, they're all big even if they were 55ers, and that's how much guys cut weight. And we're talking about now. You're fighting 85 here. You're in RFA, who has proven to bring a lot of fighters into the UFC. It's almost like a farmer league into the UFC, and the champions of RFA go into the UFC and perform very well in the UFC. So it's obviously a great platform. But coming into the UFC, who was it talking to? I think it was actually Clay that was talking to about yesterday, that the biggest difference coming from somewhere like Bellator, or even when it was Strikeforce, that the UFC fighters are so big. Is that weight cut and that big of a weight cut important when it comes to fighting? Does it give you that much of an advantage?
I feel like it does. I feel like you have a significant advantage coming in with a lot of size difference. Like if you see Tito Ortiz versus Alexander Shlemenko, I mean, you just see the size difference and domination. I think if you're able to do it properly and healthy and able to retain a lot of your strength and stuff through that cut and your endurance, then I think it's a huge advantage. If you can do it healthy.
Yeah, if you could do it healthy. But other than that, I wouldn't want to cut too much. I don't like cutting too much. I like feeling strong. I like going with the confidence that I'm going to win and that I did everything right.
I think, like you said, it's a real mental game cutting weight. You know, if you go in there and you see the guy's size and he's so much larger than you, you're like, oh, crap, this guy's really big. But if you can stay mentally strong, like a Conor McGregor goes in there fearless no matter who his opponent is, I think you can beat the slight size advantage depending on how big it is. What do you think?
Honestly, if it depends on. I personally feel once you get hit for the first time when they go for the takedown, size doesn't matter as much. I always tell my girlfriends that, my ex-girlfriends no. But size doesn't matter if you don't know how to utilize it.
Right.
You know, and you come in there and you tie up for the first time, you clinch, and you're like, damn, this guy is strong. If they're on the ground and they're holding you, or that first punch lands. I remember actually one opponent that fought, we were standing at the weigh-ins, and you can see him, even there's a picture of him when I'm looking at the weight, the scales while he's weighing in. I'm like, there's no way you can make 35. It was so big. But then we came out, and someone said he's got a bunch of knockouts in boxing as well. But he threw that first punch, and I'm like, okay, this is not a problem. And that's more important. But yes, of course you look at it. if you have muscles, it's more likely that you're gonna punch hard. But then you got someone like Fedor, you know, it doesn't look like he can punch, but he knows how to put every ounce of that weight into the punch. So it all depends. It's more about the athlete than the looks. But because you're from Blackhouse, I want to ask you as well. It's coming up very soon. Nick Diaz versus Anderson Silva. Has Anderson been into Blackhouse? I know he has his own gym here as well, but he's still part of Blackhouse.
At the time that I've been there, I've seen him twice, for sparring and for technique. But I've been going with Coach Daniel Warren to his gym, and we've been training technique there. And the times that I do go, he's always there training.
You see him throw that left leg kick?
Yeah, he's been training everything. Yeah,
and he's throwing it with full confidence. Talking about confidence.
Yeah. He's back, and I want to see him fight already.
Yeah? Well, it's coming up very quickly. Any takes on that one?
I think Anderson, you know, he's big. He's got a lot of reach, a size difference, too, that's significant. Diaz has fought at 85 before, too, but he's also fought down at, like, 55.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the size difference is going to be big there. I think it's going to be a really tough fight for Nick to win. But I'm a big Nick Diaz fan. I'd love to see – I think it'll be a good scrappy fight. But I think it's going to be tough for Diaz to come away with the win.
What do you think there?
You obviously think Anderson's gonna win.
Yeah, I go for Silva, and I think he's just too technical for any guy that he fights, and he's just one of the smartest guys there. And you guys already know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Diaz just likes to throw, and he's technical too, but he's more of a brawler.
And you?
I think Anderson Silva's going to outclass Nick Diaz 100%. Like he said, he's just too technical, too next level, as you say. But Nick Diaz is a really, really tough guy to fight. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a good fight. I
agree. And we'll find out. But first, time to tune in to UFC Sweden and watch and hear the Swedes over there, as it's always a party when the fights are going on over there. And Blake, Tim, wish you both good luck at RFA on February 6th. And we will actually have both Maria Rios, who's on that card as well, and Tyron Ware in the studio before that fight. Tyron Ware being the main event that night. So we look forward to seeing you both in there, and what the future holds for both of you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.